Morning, everyone. This is Trend Follower this side, and it's that time of the week. This week, we'll again look at some of the charts, some of the zones that we think can be really good for our trading, and discuss the bias and their reasoning, which always helps plan the week, right? We have been nailing the bias, but then I wouldn't lie, market has been slow, at least for me. Last week, as I said, GBP CHF, I was in that. I posted that on Twitter also. I guess it was 2 weeks back, and it was a hold for I don't know 4 or 5 days. I exited somewhere here, I guess. Point being, like it was a 3 hour trade, and last week I thought I would get into Euro NZD, GBP NZD, but the price action wasn't that good. Now it may have changed, but I'm not very interested in this chart. So much I can explain that later. It may work out, but my interest has reduced, so it may be a scalp maximum. Uh, Other than that, last week, also like by the end of the week, I'm into USD names, which is in GBP USD and NZD USD. Again, posted on Twitter. Stop loss to break even on those right now. Not sure where it will go because what I'm seeing is the bias for DXY is a little weird. Point being, let's plan this week. I think after a long time, I feel like the planning video, making this video, planning for this video has been more easy. Because as slowly and slowly I'm learning what information to give out. I'm going more and more focused, and my plan is to like become more and more focused in these videos so that at least you get out of it and don't get confused, right? So I will first and foremost this week talk about the bias and then talk about the zones and the reasoning behind it because doesn't matter if I'm wrong this week or right this week. I know I'm mostly right, and the reasoning matters so that you can plan this yourself. Anyway, now all these discussions are out. Let's plan for this week, guys. So before anything, let's look at the news. And interestingly, I feel the most important is, federal election of CAD. This can be very important. Then the next one would be Australian dollar CPI. Then the next one, if we come down, I think PC rate index for USD, and the most important would be JPY policy rate statement, and then later on Friday, so that would be later, parliamentary elections. And I have a feeling I know what will happen there in terms of Forex. I think so. So point being, if we retrade, seems like the most important would be CAD and JPY. And JPY, definitely, I know why it is. Uh, I mean, the news is important, no doubt, BOG policy rate. But what I do is I plan these charts before even looking at what the news is. And already I had a good bias and all that for JPY and CHF. So this totally makes sense right now. Okay. So CAD, JPY, and then Australian dollar would be the next one, right? Now, before we go into charts, let's first start with the most important one, which is DXY. So, as I said last week, right, what I was thinking on DXY was that it should come in this area here, and then we see the weakness, right, on and even in this one. But I don't know if I shared this in the last video. When I was checking this video, I shared this in the Twitter that when DXY will come in this area, then it should show weakness, right? And it did cause this whole pullback. Maybe more, maybe not. I'm not completely sure with this weekly candle. I feel there are two probabilities here, and I can talk through them. So the the thing which is important to note on DXY is we have this hammer candle, right? So the most probable situation on any, if you want a big move on USD names and all that, then you should wait for this weekly high. So to be tested. So what I would like to see if I am shorting, uh, basically if I'm betting on USD weakness, my highest probability area would be here. when it tests this area, it should come down. Having said that, I do feel what the ideal situation would be that this is a daily block. So right now it tested this, so it comes here, and in this daily block it goes up. So I think this week, if you want to play USD names, then what you will see is maybe weakness. Like let's say example, say Euro USD. So maybe strength in Euro USD just for few day, maybe like Monday and Tuesday, maybe I don't know, but basically initial part and very initial part, and then later part can be when it comes here can go here, and then rejection again, and then we'll see what the chart formation is. Point being, the highest probable area for is for going short or betting on USD weakness, because the trend has been this that way, is you let it test this and let it come down. Now the only thing that will go against you is this is that every chart that I'm seeing on other currencies, most of them are in weekly supply, especially if you see Euro USD, which means that can this be a short-term bottom and we see a move till here, like till this upper weekly, sorry, fair value gap, and maybe here, right? So point what which I am trying to mention is that when it comes here, you can play long. And I would suggest there is only two names that I would focus on when USD shows strength. We'll go into that. But when it comes here, please just don't blindly short it. Wait for a solid price action, because it wouldn't be surprising that you can really like the whole for swing I'm talking about, that this whole thing is the bottom and you see an up move. It wouldn't be surprising. Why do I say that? Is you took a liquidity here, you took this liquidity here, you are in this extreme zone. So the up move can be strong, right? So I personally think that the probability of coming in this region, which is there's a small gap here, is very high. It's not very high, but high. Uh, but just rejecting off here is low. So it may show some rejection, but that will be a pullback according to me. And then we go up. That's what I think about these names right now, according to what on DXY, according to what I'm seeing on other charts also. Point being, like, to take a shot here, the risk to reward isn't there. So I would suggest uh here, I think like right now it can go down, then when it comes back up, this is not fresh anymore, so let's not take a bet on that, right? It would be low probability. So DXY, I do think the highest probability move is something like this, right? So you should focus on this move here. And now we'll see where should we focus on that, right? So before I even go there, so I will set an alert in this area, let it come. Ideally, I want it to come. So I will show this. So this particular area, if you see this one, right? This was a daily support, right? And then you have this daily block, right? And when you go inside this, this is a very strong up move. So ideally, you would want it to come uh here, ideally, most ideal situation, but because you have sold so much, it may never come here, right? So what you will have to do is you have to be very attentive here, that when it tests this fair value gap, uh this particular zone, what's the price action here? So right here, what's the price action here, because this is all fair value gap, right, on other time frame. So ideally, your highest probability is here, right? If it comes here, high probability is here, right? So highest is here. So you have to make sure that you don't trade blind. You can trade blindly with when it comes here and stop loss here, but here you have to watch for price action. So that's my plan on DXY, that I will let it come here. And the combination that I'm talking about is you have a daily demand uh, and block, then support, and this is an extreme zone with target here. and most probably here, depending on what the price action looks like at that point. That's my theory on DXY. So next, most importantly, I want to talk about two names, which is CHF and JPY, right? So we have been talking a lot in the past about risk off, and I have been, I think if you have watched my previous videos with this whole risk off, risk on momentum, I've been nailing the bias, especially with JPY, CHF, mostly, right? So with now what is happening is we have this weekly block which got tested, and let me just quickly, if I can, let's, okay, I will change it later. But anyway, we have this weekly block which got tested, and you have a bearish engulfing candle, right? So most probably this move is legit. As you have seen in my previous videos, I have always said I never trust the first weekly candle unless there are exceptions, some edge cases, and this is one of those times. But anyway, before I go into that, so you have this weekly supply, you got a rejection from there. Now, and what the whole point here is this candle here, right? Like it just went straight up, right? So the probability of the price action to come here in this area is very high, right? So when JPY will come here, what will happen? All JPY names will go up, right? And you have been seeing that price action supporting that too. Similarly on CHF, same thing, right? You have this huge, beautiful weekly supply, beautiful weekly supply, right? Which got tested, and now what is happening? You have this rejection. This is a legit rejection in my opinion, because this shape is perfect for it to do whatever. Like it can do this or it can do that, and we want to capture this move, right? So I think what I do feel bad about is I could have really traded this without even looking at confirmation on other charts, because this is a pure beautiful supply, right? So, uh, what I would suggest is, what I would say is like this rejection, in my opinion, is legit. Yeah, of course, you can get a bounce, which I think we will, right? And then go down. Now, what is the area of interest here, right? So, you still have to keep in mind that this whole move is damn straight up. So to expect straight down is not correct, right? So I think what the perfect area would be, this is this weekly supply, potential weekly supply, right? So there are two areas which are interesting. One is this, right? So if we look at the weekly candle here, right? So if you see this, what you will consider so this is a down close candle, very important to note. Now, if you want to trade this USDJPY, you will enter somewhere here, stop loss here, go down. Why am I saying USDJPY? I meant like Forex accounts, right? If futures, that's a different thing. But it would be a swing trade. Why would it be a very long swing trade? Because you're playing this on a weekly candle. Now, why is this high probability, right? So now that I mentioned this weekly supply on JPY and on CHF, I want to point out few things. Both JPY and CHF are coming from weekly supply. Both are risk-off currencies. So you see a pattern, right? So the probability has increased. Secondly, if you look at CHF, as I showed on weekly chart, uh, this is the new potential supply that has been formed. Let me form a box only so that it's easy to see. This, right? Now, right there, you have a daily block also, right? Which basically means that it would not be easy to go past this, which basically means that when it comes here, it's in weekly and daily uh, supply and demand covered by higher time frame. So what you should see is price coming here. So I think what you have in this week or coming weeks is price coming here, right? So that's what I think, and that's what I would be playing. That's why I held GBP CHF for so long. for a whole week because I knew because of some reason that something like that this can happen, and I still feel there is a lot of space for it to continue. So on JPY, similarly on this, I feel there are particular areas, and then more importantly, what I'm seeing this is this area as a daily supply, right? Now, keep in mind you have a down close daily candle here also. It doesn't have to come back here. What I but what I really like to trade is these daily supplies from here. So if you see this, for me, this level is the most important one, right? So daily supply, this three candle move. So within this candle, what is interesting is if I can show this, yeah, okay. So within this candle, what is interesting is you have this straight daily move, a 1 hour move, which hasn't been tested right here, right? So this is a very good zone. And then there was a gap also here, right? So I think the best case scenario here would be you come here and go down. Will it happen? I am not sure. Why? Because there is also a 12-hour supply here, right here. So what there are two scenarios here. One is you go here and then just come down, which I doubt it. Why do I doubt it? Is because you went straight up, right? So the probability of this is a little less, but it can happen, especially when BOG policy rate is there, right? So one case is that. The other case possible scenario is uh you test it, you come down, then you break it, and then you come down, right? Overall, I am bearish biased on DXY. I think it should come down, further continue going down. The only thing I don't like about this one, keep in mind, is at last this is not a daily supply. So my favorite here would be something like this, right? So if I want to trade something like this, my favorite would be if I can take this, something like this maybe here. Uh, and target I will have to look into more, but I think these are the zones where I'm very focused on. I really think this can happen. Okay, so let's continue with similarly on CHF, same I have showed you, but now let's continue with why I'm so bearish biased with JPY and CHF. First, I told you, you can see the future chart and weekly supply. The second important thing which I wanted to show is, I will just quickly go over those, is if you look at the CHF and JPY pairs, uh, Euro JPY equal high here, GBP JPY equal high here, or Australian dollar CHF, I don't see anything, CAD CHF equal high here, CAD JPY, sorry, CAD CHF I don't see. I think that's mostly it. USD JPY had equal high, it just got broken, which is good. I think, yeah. NZDJPY, this whole is a vacuum, daily vacuum, which is also acts like a drawn liquidity. Point being, I can clearly see every single name has drawn liquidity, which is to the upside, right? So that's it. That's it. We'll just focus on JPY and CHF names this week, where our bias is bearish for JPY and bullish for Euro JPY, JPY, these names, right? So we think JPY should act weak, which means other currencies where JPY is the minor currency that should act strong, right? So within those, of course, there are many names. So you can ask me what is your favorite among them. So what I think, for me, I think JPY and GBP JPY will be at the top, right? USD JPY would be where I showed DXY, right? When it comes into that zone, my focus would be USD JPY, right? I do think Australian dollar and NZD JPY would have been great too, but personally, I feel they have been like they look extended. So part of me doesn't want to go into that. But USD JPY I do think would be great if we can grab a move here. Anyway, so we'll quickly go through some zones, right? So some things that I think can happen. Uh, so one is, let's go with first and foremost Euro JPY. As I've said, I think you have a chance of. So it depends like when the liquidity. I should say this way, right? Uh, Now I would make these videos during the weekend, right? So sometimes I don't know what will happen during the week, and when the week starts, I can see what can happen, but it's not an easy, there's not an easy way to inform everyone, right? So I will just talk about few case scenarios. Ideally, you don't want this liquidity to be taken before the BOG statement, ideally, but it may, right? So depending on the price action. But this is the zone I really like. If this is taken out, I will let it come down here and then we can play upside. Now, the most ideal case scenario is you come and test this area. If it comes and tests this area, this is a very high probable zone because you have this weekly zone here. So if you see this weekly zone here, then apart from that, you have this daily zone. Apart from that, you have this daily zone here, right? So daily demand here, daily demand here, weekly demand here. You see all these lines, which means what? This area is the highest probable area, right? Now within this area, if you look at 12-hour or even daily, you have this whole blob as a potential demand. Now you have to reduce your risk. So I would really recommend if you can come in this zone, right? So I think this is a great zone that I would be focused on. I think something like this can happen or something. What was I gonna do? Yeah, something like this can happen. So there is one case, the second case, but overall, I do think we are going up here, right? So that is Euro JPY. Let's go with GBP JPY. As I've said, I think the drawn liquidity here is this weekly zone. So not weekly zone. These equal highs. Now you have to keep in mind that are we gonna like if you see this. This is the weekly supply. If you see this, this may be a weekly demand. So we are in that criteria and it makes sense with all the tariffs and all that. But I do think at least we should test this region. So my on drawn liquidity first would be these equal highs and then this, right? So here, what is interesting is I'm considering this as a weekly demand, these two candles, which means that any when it comes here in this purple zone, blue zone, then it's a great area, right? So for GBP JPY, I would want it to come in this zone, right? Uh, that's it for GBP JPY. Now, Australian dollar CHF, I have to say, I'm not sure if it will come here where I think like in my zone, but I really love it because again, all these zones are many of these zones are weekly level plus daily plus demand. So here you have this weekly level, then you have daily demand here, right? And yeah, and you had equal, not okay, not in, oh yeah, you had equal highs here. So I think you should see something like this. Now keep in mind, I have to show this one. Sometimes what happens is like in this case, I'll just temporarily remove it. Right. So in this case, what I do is I will not this. Anyway, okay. I see this as daily demand, for example, and I see this as daily demand. So basically, this whole zone is daily demand. So when I'm trading, my first priority is to let the price come into this preferred zone. If you don't know about this, I would suggest watching some videos. But I'm also ready for this zone where I wait for price action, right? So my first priority would be here, my second would be here, and according to price action, I will take the trade, right? So in this case also, I'm telling you this part, this zone is a very good zone and my first priority. Here I will see what price action does, right? I do think it should come here and then go up, or it can do something like this. That's odd CHF, Australian dollar CHF. Canadian dollar CHF is something which I believe you can play both sides because it's one of the names which are not which doesn't have an up close candle on weekly. You have equal highs, you have weekly supply here, weekly block here, not supply, weekly block. So what you can see is you break this, then come back down and then go up, right? So if you want to scalp, you can scalp somewhere here. And depending on the price action, I'll see what I will do. But if in terms of going long, I want to get in here. Why? Because I'm considering, so there are two daily demands here. One is this, one is this, right? So these three candles, one, let me zoom in a little. That's a lot. Anyway, so these three candle, one, two, three, is forming a daily demand right here, right? And then these three candle, one, two, three, is forming a daily demand right here. So before Monday, if it comes here, I think you can see this, and later it can come down, right? Now, point to remember here, why is this such a beautiful trade? Ah man, I missed this one on during the week because I preferably wanted to get into USDJPY because I like the demand there more. I will explain that next. So if during the week, sorry, before the news, if price action comes here, right, that's your demand, right? But later on, if it comes here, I wouldn't trade it so much as I would like to trade it here, right? So initial part of the week, because this is fresh zone, you may this will just work. You can trade this to this, right? So that's what one idea is, that this zone should work and the second zone would be here, right? So either you see something like this or you see something like this. In my opinion, maybe it is also possible that during the week you may see both, which is basically you see something like this, then you come down and then you go up, right? It is possible. So I'm just telling you all the stories which are possible so that mentally you are ready when the week is happening, right? So on CAD so I think CAD should pull back a little bit as CADJPY, but it will only pull back once. I think ideally they should pull back together, right? So on this case, what is happening is CAD. What did I do? Okay, yeah. So where is weekly? Yes, this is CADJPY, CADCHF, yeah. So this weekly high, but if the price comes back in this weekly demand area, which is right here, let me go back to this way. Right here, then that would be great because that would make it such a high probable move, and that's where my focus would be. So again, in this case, I'm considering these three as the daily demand candle, and when the price action comes here, then I will focus on it. It is possible that you just come here and go up, but right now I don't see a very clear demand in this area. So let me just check. Yeah. So the only one which can work, did it close? So this is a good demand area. Uh, I would prefer if the weekly is also covered so that I can get a, yeah, this is a good demand area. This one, let me. So if the price action comes here and JPY also comes here, then this may work very well. Let me. Okay, so this 4 hour also. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, I would watch the price action here. I would really depend on other um other logics also, which is around, how CAD is behaving and all that. Where is it on where is it on the futures chart to understand more? But if you ask me what is my favorite zone, it's right here, which hasn't been tested. So for me, like if this whole move is so good, I would really want it come back and then go up, right? Will it happen this week? I don't know, but I would like that price action at least comes below this weekly level for me to trade this one. I do think, CAD can act like CAD, and I think like at least it has equal highs, so maybe. Does it? No, okay. So this is good, right? So what is happening is CAD is getting rejected from here. The only thing I don't like about this, which I don't know if I have already said it, but this is not covered by a daily supply. So that's why daily demand. So that's why if price action comes here or here, at least you are in this weekly daily demand area within the weekly zone. So then it will have the strength to break all this, because remember when I showed the JPY future chart, I do think the big move can come, right? USD CHF, again the same logic. I want price to come here, right? This one has such beautiful demand in here. Right here is one. Uh, this one, this one. So there are two case scenarios here again, and there was one more here. Yeah, where did that go? So there is one more here. Yeah. So in this case, again, this one I really had my eye on. I think I wanted to take it long, but it never came in my zone. As I said, I prefer the what is that? The preferred version basically. So I am waiting. So there are two things that can happen depending on the price action, but one zone is this and the other zone is this, right? Again, I would preferably love if it can come below this weekly zone. So what can happen basically in this case scenario is also it does this, then does that, then comes down and then goes up, right? So it may be a choppy week, but the zones that you should really care about is this zone on 8 hour, and then if price action just touches this, that would be awesome, right? So what I would really like is ideally price action touches this, then you are in this 12-hour demand, and then you can go up. So I personally believe it shouldn't ideally come this below. I think that, but then the next zone would be that, because this is the perfect zone. So there are many zones here, so keep in mind that should only enter USDJCHF or USDJPY in these zones if DXY is also in the right place, which I showed you in the charts, right? Similarly, on USDJPY. Of course, again, this was the chart I was really waiting on. I think this was it, right? Yeah. So I'm waiting on this zone here. It's a very powerful zone. There was a previous week low here and previous week low here. So this was previously week low. This was previous to previous week low. So I think price action should come here, and maybe it can just come here also, right? So what I would like to see is something like this here or here, right? That's what I think can happen with USDJPY if we are playing our cards right, if our theory is right. So I think that can happen. And I really want price action to come here. This is a very powerful demand, guys. This is a very powerful demand. So keep an eye on this one. Australian dollar JPY again. On this case, Yeah, or JPY and all the same logic here. There is a weekly zone here, uh, this line, and there is a daily demand here. I wanted to come do this, right? I think the drawn liquidities are these zones. So that's Australian dollar JPY and NZDJPY, the same logic, weekly demand here and daily demand here. You can see something like this. When this motion happens, remember you are forming this trend line or low liquidity resistance environment. So once it does that, the move can be brutal to the upside, right? So I think all that is possible with JPY and CHF names, and that's why I'm bearish on JPY CHF, and I think you can see ups risk, basically risk on is possible. The only last thing I wanted to talk about is silver, which has equal highs, right? I just wanted to talk about this in terms of it has equal highs, so keep be aware of let me close this. Yeah, be aware of this zones here, right? So there are equal lows also here, right? So if you get this tested and reclaim this weekly high, you can play to the upside. I just wanted to mention that. I saw that and I was like, wait, this can really be good. uh I mostly don't like to play gold or silver. The reason is they're too volatile for me sometimes, and it's not good for my focus. But I do sometimes when it forms like good, uh, what should I say, good chart pattern. And I feel this is the one here that when I want to see price action come here and see what happens, I think what you can see is at least test of these levels, but more importantly, at least break of this equal highs. This is a clear low resistance environment on silver, so I think something like this can happen. Uh, was there anything else? Yeah, one thing. Mm, I don't think. I think that's it. I had some other trade ideas with CAD and USD. But I have a feeling like I don't want to confuse you guys. With CAD in particular and USD in particular, I would, I think it can go up and then come down, right? But you can play these when DXY, like because there's a weekly supply here, right? Right here. So I think you can play these when USD comes in the zone I mentioned where USD should act weak, but keep in mind that what was I gonna keep in mind that at the same time USDJPY and USDCHF is a better name to play uh for USD strength than these names, right? So that's it for this video, guys. I think please be focused on just JPY and CHF names. Within those, your first top two connectors should be, I feel GBPJPY most probably or EURJPY. I think, but point being, like depending on where the price action is at what time, it's easier to say which one to play. Right now, I feel but most importantly, I feel just focus on JPY and CHF mostly this week. There are some other charts and trades that I think can happen, but it's not worth confusing this and adding more details to this video to confuse people. Instead, let's focus on high quality, and I think JPY and CHF would be high quality. I hope this kind of content helped you guys. This way of approaching the trades helped you guys. Most importantly, I hope you learned something. That's it for this video, guys. Have a great trading week and stay safe. Enjoy.